You got it. Some good games here this weekend. Why don't we flip it down and talk to some, because obviously we have the Thursday night game tonight, national game, 7:30. All eyes will be focused on that. But I like the way the NFL is doing the preseason this year, Kyle.
Yeah.
Game on Thursday. We had two of them last week. Got some games on Friday. Full slate on Saturday. We even have the Sunday games here, which is good because you have a 1 o'clock game in the afternoon, which we had last week, but also a Sunday night football game. And then also, how about this? A Monday night football team, Jacksonville and New Orleans, which is great. Hey, week 2, week 3 in football in the preseason, that's okay to watch. The other ones, weeks 1s and 4s in the past were certainly ones to avoid. So it's nice to have football back to try to get a read on where some of these players are coming from. Friday night's games, the one I'm interested in here, Cincinnati and Washington, it's hilarious. Last week, Cincinnati getting 6 points. We thought that was a hilarious joke. They won the game outright against Tampa because Cincinnati is treating the preseason as if it's the Super Bowl for their coaching staff, saying, hey, what do you want from us? We went 3-0 in the preseason, but we went 3-14 in the regular season. But did you see what we did in the preseason? I think that we're going to look at that again. Not to go over that game, but, again, getting 5.5 points in that game for Cincinnati. I'll take them again. But Kansas City and Arizona, the reason I bring this up, going to get a look maybe at some Kyler Murray, but also Andy Reid, old school. Been with the Eagles since 1999 before obviously going over to the Kansas City Chiefs. He liked to play guys. When it was that third preseason game, Donovan McNabb and the boys were getting at least a full 2 quarters and sometimes into the third quarter with their starters. So as you take a look at that line, Kyle, Friday night, opens up at FanDuel at 1.5. We're up to 3 now. Basically 3s and 3.5s across the board and a huge jump in the total. 36.5 offshore, Kyle, up to 41 and 41.5 as high here at DraftKings. That should be an interesting game as we take a look to see what takes place. But Kansas City playing their starters, maybe that's when you isolate and say, hey, Kansas City's playing the starters. I'll take them first half, basically to be up by a field goal.
Exactly. That's a great look, and Andy Reid can be weird. Sometimes he says things and he doesn't necessarily do it. So we've seen that. It's hard to trust some of those older coaches, but he did say, right, we're going to give him about a half and see how it goes. Now remember, it's preseason, so all it takes is one funky sack, and Mahomes, maybe he's not hurt, but he limps a little back to the huddle, and that's it. He is out. So you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. It's something to keep an eye on. They're not going to send you back out with a slight limp like they would do in the regular season. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on. Some other games I kind of like as well. I want to go to that Monday night game because I'm curious. I want to keep an eye on that New Orleans quarterback situation, and we're going to get to that in our next topic. But it's interesting to me to see, do they do the Taysom Hill packages where he's the tight end? Are they going to play him at the multiple positions? Because I think if you start seeing that, then the writing's on the wall that, hey, it'll be Jameis at quarterback. But if they're limiting him and not using him in those weird, exotic packages or running plays, maybe they are thinking about starting Taysom Hill week 1. We just have to see. Another one I think is interesting, of course, Buffalo and Chicago. Some talk about the Justin Fields injury. Looks like he's going to be good to go. Of course, you get Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to get plenty of playing time back in Soldier Field. Justin Fields and Andy Dalton dueling it out. It does still look like Andy Dalton has the inside track, crazily enough, as how it appears. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm always interested in what Tua's doing. And, of course, one more teaser for this next segment. What the hell is that quarterback situation going to be like in Denver? Who's going to start? Will it be Drew Lock? Will it be Teddy Bridgewater? And the sneaky one, I know I didn't mention this before in our pre-show chat, but I like the anarchy and chaos of the Houston situation. I want to know, what's Houston going to do? Is it going to be Tyrod Taylor? Are they going to start the rookie? Or are they just going to say, screw it, we're going 0-17. We're going to be the worst team of all time without Deshaun Watson? How does that all work out in Houston as well?
Yeah, you bring up a good point there with Houston because they're catching, 4 points here at FanDuel, 3.5 points offshore. I look at them the same way, Kyle, being Houston, as a team that their Super Bowl is the preseason. Like let's go 3-0 because once we start that regular season and the bullets are flying for real, we're going to be running for cover each and every week. So I look at maybe getting off on the right foot of the regime and really trying hard in the preseason. But the one game you also brought up as well, Saturday, 1 o'clock, Buffalo and Chicago. I like those Chicago playing those little matinee games at Soldier Field on Saturdays. They open up at 2 offshore. That's now sitting at 4.5. At Pinnacle. If we look at New Jersey here, that one opened up as a favorite to Buffalo at -1, now sitting at -4 for the Chicago Bears. People can't get enough of the Bears right now. And I joke quite a bit, hey, Justin Fields, okay, he looked decent against 4th-string players. Let's slow the roll a little bit here and see what happens throughout the rest of it. So in the preseason, are we just betting that game because of what we saw for Justin Fields against 3rd and 4th stringers? Or are we going to base this off of him struggling a little bit when some of the 1s and 2s were still in the game for the Miami Dolphins? Those big line swings, I don't don't want to say it alarms you in the preseason because it's still going to be a coin flip who wins or loses. And also keep in mind, with that, let's just say Justin Fields has the groin injury. Say, you know what, we thought better of it. He's going to get one series in this game. We don't want to injure him. We want him to be healthy for games 3 in the preseason and the regular season. Does that line flip all the way back? Is the only reason we're betting it up to 4.5 is because Justin Fields?
Yeah, well, maybe it's a fate of Mitchell Trubisky too in any scenario.
He's got a lot to prove, Kyle. He's got a lot to prove.
Got a lot to prove. Yeah. But no, you're right, and that's the thing. Like we can prognosticate all we want from articles and beat writers and little camp reports or what you see on, TV in a little snippet or two, but these are really fluid situations in the preseason, and nothing is set in stone. No one's playing time is set in stone. It only takes, even a weird fall if the guy gets up and he's completely fine, but they look out there and he falls weird and it looks like his knee bends, but it didn't, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief. He's out of the game. So it only takes one little thing. You can't trust anything as gold. No one is fighting for your dollar and playing a full quarters in the preseason outside of the guys who aren't very good playing in the fourth quarter anyway. So you definitely have to take every piece of information you get in the preseason with a grain of salt and understand it can change at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely. Here, going down the list here, one more game that I did want to talk about here. I'm just trying to flip down and find some of the odds. Here we go. The Saturday night game, 10 o'clock, Denver and Seattle. We do know Seattle cares quite a bit about the scoreboard, but apparently not in this football game. Now, the one additive that you like, if you can steal anything from the preseason, is when you have a quarterback battle. It usually means good things for betting-wise, purposes, because both of those quarterbacks are going to probably get equal opportunity. The coach isn't going to say, hey, Drew Lock, this week you're going to hand off 17 times and come out of the game, and Teddy's going to throw 17 times. You're probably going to get an even keel, but take a look at this line movement here in that game on Saturday night. 2.5 offshore opened up as a favorite towards Denver. We're now up to a 5. FanDuel opened that one up at 1.5. We're now up to a 5.5 in New Jersey and 37.5. Drew Lock did look good last week. In just a few moments, we're going to start talking about, quarterbacks to start week 1 in some of these battles. But it looks like Drew Lock does have the upper hand. But whenever you still have that battle, it's usually good. Your schemes are still going to be vanilla, but you're actually trying with those quarterbacks to put them in the best possible position, Kyle, to win the game, or should I say win the starting job for the regular season. That's an interesting one between Denver and Seattle late Saturday night.
Yeah, I really agree. And Drew Lock, like the reports that Drew Lock is doing well, and we're going to touch on. Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is a guy that'll punt from the opposing team's 35-yard line, for Christ's sakes. This is not a high IQ, offensive-minded quarterback genius. This is not Kyle Shanahan that we're dealing with here in Denver. This is a much more closer to a Dan Campbell, rah-rah, low IQ football kind of goof type of a head coach, and that's what Vic Fangio is. So, hey, I'll be interesting to watch it. I'm a Teddy Bridgewater guy. I think he's exponentially better than Drew Lock. I've seen plenty of Drew Lock. I don't need to see anything more from Drew Lock. He's the guy that wants to play like Brett Favre, and he's got the cool name and this, this sort of rifle of a cannon, but he just doesn't have the talent. It's like me when I was 12 and I would wear my Michael Jordan jersey to go play basketball because I wanted to be Michael Jordan. But obviously, Drew Lock is about as good as Brett Favre is in football as I am to Michael Jordan in basketball. Let's put it that way. Drew Lock stinks, but of course he's the favorite. I feel bad for Teddy B, and I feel bad for Broncos fans if it does end up being Drew Lock, but I'll be interesting to watch that game for sure.